There are data in every aspect of our lives, every aspect of work and pleasure, okay? And it's not just about the number of places where data comes, it's about connecting it together. And when you connect data together, you get power in a way that doesn't happen just with the web, with documents. You get this really huge power out of it.
In 2001, Tim Berners-Lee, the inventor of the World Wide Web, Jim Handler, and Dora Lassila published an article on Scientific America, where they had a vision of a web different from the one of the time, that was still Web 1.0, made simply of hyperlinked documents. They imagined that software agents would be able to access the web and carry out search and tasks in place of humans. They called it the semantic web. This new web would be made by waving data into the existing web. This data would have some meaningful tasks attached so that machine would be able to process them and extract some meaning from them. That was a way to have data automatically processed on the web without necessarily human intervention. In order to work, the semantic web needs data that is structured in some way, and inference rules that the machine could use to do their reasoning. So there is a need for a language that could represent both these things. At the time, two technologies already exist that could be used for that task: the Extensible Markup Language, XML, and the Resource Description Framework, RDF. So RDF could be used to express meaning encoded in triples similar to sentences, with subject, verb, and object. And XML could be used to write these triples. But there could be terms that could have the same meaning, like zip code and postal code. How could the software agent know that they are the same? For solving this problem, the semantic web could use ontologies that define the relations among the terms. There was a lot of talk about the semantic web in the following years, with different proposed solutions. In the meanwhile, the web was evolving from the static Web 1.0 to a more interactive and social Web 2.0. In 2009, Tim Berners-Lee, in a TED Talk, goes back to the idea and outlines the concept of a web of data, made of linked data, data that is connected through relationships. But in order for this web to realize, there is an essential thing that is needed, and Berners-Lee make an open call for it.
Make a beautiful website, but first, give us the unadulterated data. We want the data. We want unadulterated data.
Open data, that is raw, unadulterated data, that is freely available and accessible on the web.
The concept of freedom of information ties into the right of freedom of opinion and expression as laid out in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Article 19 states, "Everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek, receive and impart information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers." Linked Open Data helps make this right a reality for everyone. The ultimate goal of linked open data is that data on the web is accessible, free, open, and non-proprietary, ensuring the right to freedom of information on the web. Open data can aid government reform and help the community. Open data provided by bodies such as PUBL help give governments and other agencies access to accurate, timely data about deprived areas, highlighting areas where there are housing shortages and other welfare issues. Data from traffic cameras and public transport can be used to see where extra investment in transport is needed and when and where cyclists are likely to have accidents. Open data can be utilized by scientific organizations, humanitarian organizations, and intergovernmental bodies such as the United Nations to research, monitor, and find solutions to pressing global issues like climate change, child poverty, disease epidemics, and terrorism. Data can be shared between seemingly unrelated disciplines across the academic boundaries, allowing for new breakthroughs and discoveries. Opening of access to data can help increase cross-border cooperation between different countries and institutions. Linked open data allows for greater collaboration, making institutions and individuals' research more open, transparent, and accountable. Researchers will no longer have problems with information being locked into databases that don't talk to one another. Data will no longer be archived and forgotten about. It will instead be seen as living. Machine-readable data means that research can be easily translated into different languages and read using whatever open-source software is available. Open data boosts creativity too. Consumers and creators of data can remix and modify data without license, represent data in new ways, to find links and infer connections with data from other disciplines. The public has concerns about open data initiatives. A study from the Pew Research Center shows that trust in open data is tied to people's trust in the government. The government's opening of data could be seen as an invasion of privacy if sensitive personal data is stored as linked open data rather than in separate databases, for example, medical records, employment history, or mortgage data. Data and metadata can be misused and abused for malicious reasons. In this post-WikiLeaks, post-Snowden era, with more reports of data breaches, such as politically motivated email hackings and phishers stealing credit card data, the general public and institutions have a sense of data insecurity and feel vulnerable to attack, that their personal data can be used against them. The use of open data and metadata by advertisers to target consumers, for example, using metadata to falsely improve a website's search engine ranking, thus encouraging more hits on a particular website, could be an area of misuse of linked data. There are also legal intellectual property concerns. There are still barriers to overcome in achieving the goal of linked open data. There are also legal intellectual property concerns and copyright issues, as well as institutions and individuals who are unwilling to embrace open data because they are afraid that it will lead to profit loss. Legal issues relating to intellectual property and copyright law vary from country to country. Raw data must be available as open license material, and more institutions, public bodies, and individuals must adhere to the Creative Commons standards and commit to open public domain publishing. Data must be put on the web using the correct protocols. These take time to be applied universally, to learn and to be understood by creators and users. Metadata needs to be added to web content in order to make it machine readable. This means extra work for authors and content creators when adding content to the web, either during the creating process or retroactively. Tim Berners-Lee set out his levels of openness for linked data on a starred scale of 1 to 5. Level 1. Make data available on the web in any format. Level 2. Make data available as structured data, for example, in an Excel sheet instead of an image scan of a table. Level 3. Make data available in a non-proprietary format, for example, in a CSV file instead of an Excel. Level 4. Use URIs to identify things so that people can point to your stuff. A URI is a sequence of characters used to identify a resource. And level 5. Link data. Link your data to other people's data to provide context.